consultancy called Decisionlab. I've put up here that we're a startup. We're about 5 years old, so a really young company. We're a consultancy, which means we work for different projects for different companies and all sorts of different types of work. And I'm going to give you a bit of an insight into what that work is. So we'll start off with a few questions. How do you save millions maintaining a fleet of jet engines? How do you make medical evacuation more effective? How do you ensure London has enough water? And how do you predict when an aeroplane will have a fault? So my company answers these and other questions that are similar. And I'll give you a bit of an insight into how we answer those kind of questions and what we do. And also a little bit of a plug for the company that we are hiring, and that's why we're here. So, who are we? I've described us as a startup. Like I say, we're about 5 years old. The reason I've used the word startup is we're very much that kind of culture of a company. So we're very young and agile and collaborative. We have a lot of cool policies that you see a bit later about remote working, quite informally dressed. We manage projects in an agile fashion. So yeah, you'll see a little bit about that later. We're specialists in OR and data science, so specifically that means optimization, simulation. Within data science, there's things like machine learning. Yeah, so this picture's a little bit old. So there's only a few of us there. In the last year or so, we've expanded from about 6 or 7 staff to we're now up to about 15. So really fast and growing company. What kind of companies do we work for? There's a few of them there. Some of the big ones, Rolls-Royce. We actually work for DSTL as well, who you just heard from. MOD, a lot of water companies. We've actually picked up a few clients since I made this slide originally. So a lot of you have a background in OR, and I guess that's why you're here. So some of these tools you'll be familiar with, maybe some of them not. Hopefully some of the techniques on the right-hand side you'll know a bit about. So unlike potentially a lot of other kind of analytical companies that you work for, you'll really be using, at this company, we really use the tools and techniques that you've been learning through your education. So that's day-to-day, we do mathematical programming, agent-based simulation, discrete event simulation, relatively new things like machine learning and neural networks. These are all things that I personally have used in the last year. So I've worked for a bigger consultancy before I worked here, and I spent most of my time on Excel. And so that's one of the main reasons why I moved to this company, was that genuinely a lot of intelligent people using tools and techniques from OR day to day. Some of the tools we use here, you may or may not be familiar with. AIMS is our mathematical programming language, but if you're familiar with Express, that kind of thing, that's the same kind of thing there. AnyLogic's a really cool simulation software that blends different paradigms of simulation, so both discrete event simulation, agent-based, pedestrian modeling, all sorts of different things. So you can blend those all into one simulation. It's really cool. Like, you guys should check it out, even if you don't do anything else from the rest of the day. Look up that software. Some things I've started using this year are Python. So these are programming languages for data science, and also some other scalable technologies like Amazon Web Services and Azure Machine Learning. I'll now talk about a few of our projects that we've done. This first one is one that we did for DSTL. This one I worked on about a year and a half ago. So this was about creating a medical evacuation simulation to help DSTL plan their medical evacuation. So asking questions like how many ambulances, helicopters, medical staff do they need, where should they place them in order to get military personnel treated within the appropriate timelines. So they can test out a laydown, a medical laydown, and see how that performs, and are people getting treated in the appropriate timelines. This was created in that software I mentioned, AnyLogic. It's an agent-based simulation. It's very challenging. It's my first project when joining the company, so there's a lot of complexity about modeling that real-life evacuation situation. So that's one thing. A project I worked on subsequent to that was for Thames Water. We also do this for other major water companies throughout the country. And this is about optimizing their investment decisions that they make over the next, say, 25 years. They have to decide on whether to invest in new reservoirs, should they encourage people to use less water, should they invest in new aquifers, and each of those things has a cost associated with it and a certain amount of water supplied. So for Thames Water, they need to supply water to the entirety of London. It doesn't just happen. They actually have to make strategic investments over the next period of time. So you can essentially model that problem as a mathematical optimization problem, which is what we did. So it's, for those of you who are interested, it's a mixed integer linear program. We solved it using AIMS and a Cplex solver. There's a lot of complexities, so you've maybe done some mathematical programming in your course. It's like that, but a very, very complicated version of that. So that's currently being used by Thames Water to inform their strategic investment decisions. Another project that my colleagues have worked on is for Rolls-Royce, and this is about planning aircraft maintenance scheduling. So we have a separate simulation that simulates how an engine degrades over time, how all the different components are likely to degrade. And then this is about optimizing how you schedule those investments, maintenance over time. So you say, in our diagram here, we've got aircraft A and B are going to need repair, engines A and B are going to need repair at the same time. Obviously, there's a problem there in that you don't have enough capacity in your workshops. You don't want to have 10 workshops just so that occasionally they're going to be repairing 10 aircraft at the same time. You actually, and then you idle the rest of the time. You want to optimize it so that you've got a continuous number of maintenance over time. So say you have 2 workshops or 1 workshop, and each one comes in one after the other. That's a much more efficient way to do things. So it was a complex simulation, and then we put some optimization on top of that. This is the latest project I'm working on, which is again for Rolls-Royce, but a different part of Rolls-Royce. And this is using data science and machine learning to try and forecast when an aircraft is going to have a fault. So this isn't a catastrophic fault. This is like a warning light on your car when you're driving around. So what we're using is sensor data from the aircraft. So, all sorts of different things like tire pressure, minor faults like our screws loose, or maybe not that, but just like, little sensor data. And from that pattern, you can predict, we're trying to predict in 3 or 4 flights time, you're going to need to maintain this. So there's a huge amount of value in this, because every time an aircraft's out of service, it costs Rolls-Royce or the airline millions of pounds. So really interesting project that I'm currently working on. So why work in consultancy, or OR consultancy specifically? First of all, it's a huge growth industry, in particular data science. I was talking to someone from MOD quite recently, and they were saying they just can't hire data scientists. There's not enough around, and people are commanding such salaries they can't afford. They can't pay. There's not enough supply. So it's a huge growth industry. If you go anywhere in business, people are looking for data scientists and analysts and OR people. So it's a great area to be in. Consultancy in particular is great. You get to work on diverse projects. You've seen some projects I've worked on in the last years. There's a lot of variety. You're not always doing the same thing day in, day out, using different tools and techniques and industries. It's challenging. You have a certain amount of time to solve a problem. It's not unlimited, so it's quite fast-paced. Obviously, you've seen that we've had a lot of impact on those organisations that we've been involved with. And it also involves development of broader business skills, so talking to people, presenting, those kind of things, managing projects. So yeah, why work for our company in particular? A lot of reasons. I genuinely think it's a really great company to work for. As you can see, we're genuinely using great OR tools and techniques, so machine learning, optimization, simulation, and you'll be using those latest skills that are really relevant to your career. I never used R previously, but over the past four months or so, I've been teaching myself that, been getting training from experts in the company about how to learn in R. So I've learned all about machine learning. So you're really learning with intelligent people, great skills for your career. It's a small company, so you're not it's a bit of a cliche, but you're not a tiny cog in a big machine. You really matter. So we had a graduate that started a few months ago. He's now managing a project with a little bit of supervision, but he's essentially taking responsibility, talking to clients, deciding the direction of the project. That's very much true throughout the company. Again, if you've got ideas, we'll listen to those ideas, and if you're passionate about it, we'll actually invest in those ideas, and you'll see that later on. It's a very friendly company. There's only, say 10 or 15 of us in the office at any one time, so we're all friendly, quite informal. We get along really well. And like I say, it's a really great company culture, and you'll see that if you come to chat to us later on. Some other sort of specific perks about why Decisionlab is great to work for. We have a policy about remote working, so you're able to work from different locations. So I've put a map up here. This is where people are currently working today in the company. So we've got people working in Greece, Germany, south of England, London, Loughborough, Southampton, all over the place. So really nice flexibility there. Me and some of the guys a couple of months ago went to work in Berlin for the week with a colleague of ours, just because we wanted to. It was fun, it was great. We got sort of flexi time policy, it's probably a bit less formal than that, so you're able to work the hours that suit you. I mean, it's not ridiculous, don't work 1 a.m. till 5 a.m. because you're not going to be able to talk to anyone, but if you need to go out and whatever, catch a train or something at 4 o'clock, leave then, do your work later. It's very flexible. We've got some really great social events. There's a few pictures there. None of them have all of our staff in, but there's a variety of events we've done. We have a sports day, we've been to Go Ape, all sorts of fun. Like I said, it's a social company to work for. Two other nice things. We've got an investment fund, so if you have ideas that want to be funded, so you have a particular area of interest, you can submit that, and we've got a certain amount of money in the company that we just spend on your investing in your ideas. So it's a bit like, I guess, Google's 10% time, but actually, small company, you put in your idea, and that'll get funded. So recently I had the suggestion of working on that we should look into alternative optimization software tools. And yeah, we're currently investigating that because there's some good things and bad things about AIM, so we just wanted to look around different alternatives. So that's currently being funded. A thing I forgot to mention previously was a profit share. So the more profitable the company is, you actually get to take some of that home in addition to your wage. Another thing that I've been introducing is hack days. So we take occasional days off. A few times a year, we'll go to a fun event, a fun location like a pub, or we went to a boat club recently and just work on our own ideas. So here's some photos from our latest hack day, or latest couple of hack days. The top one there, we decided that it would be interesting to look into how do we optimize this medical evacuation simulation we created. So previously what DSTL have is just a simulation. And so they say, what happens if I do this? We said, okay, what about if we could make that optimized? So rather than you trying to guess what we should do, we said, wouldn't it be good if it told you what was a good medical laydown? So we just did that for fun for a day. There's no profit motive to it, just because it's something we're interested in. And then the latest one was we were working with someone knew someone at an airline baggage company, and they came in for the day, and they were kind of our dummy client for the day, and we worked on how would we make airline baggage handling more efficient. I can't talk about it too much, but it's like a novel approach to that. So we're doing some kind of innovative research into that. So I just say, genuinely believe, really great company to work for, very different to some of the other prospects that you might be looking at. Young, informal, very much a startup culture. Use your OR skills. Yeah, really love it. Recommended. So.